Welcome to the Checkered Shorts Podcast, a podcast of three fraternity brothers reconnected by the love of IndyCar. Join us for grid rival IndyCar fantasy talk, predictions for upcoming races, and reactions to race day results and all things IndyCar. Let's go racing!
Hey, good evening. Welcome back to Checkered Shorts, episode number 46. Long time no see. But obviously, we're here in the holiday season.
We're back.
Pat, you got to show off that hat from the Kelly Landscaping Christmas edition. Very cool.
Yeah, it resembles our host, Mr. Nate.
Right, it does. Pretty good. Yeah,
nice.
Fresh off the printing press right here today.
Very cool. So, episode number 46. What do you got for us on the history front?
Yeah, 1946 was a pretty pivotal year in the history of the Indianapolis 500. The winner that year was a guy by the name of George Robson. He won that race. But we haven't mentioned the 500 by that year for a few episodes because that was World War II. And so 1946 was the first year back from World War II. And IMS, that property, was used for a variety of things. One of those being aircraft, kind of training, landing, staging area, things like that. And so in that stead, because racing wasn't taking place, and the money in this country was being spent on the war effort, the speedway had kind of just shriveled up. There were lots of weeds growing. Things were falling down. A guy by the name of Eddie Rickenbacker had owned the speedway. He was a World War I pilot, hero from that time period. He had kind of let the speedway run into disarray, had kind of fallen on some hard times himself, and he was looking for somebody to take it over or shut it down, one of the two, and happened to find a businessman out of Terre Haute, Indiana, by the name of Anton or Tony Holman, and convinced Tony Holman to purchase the speedway, and kind of, as they say, the rest is history. Obviously, Mr. Holman owned it, and the Holman family, all the way from 1946 to 2019. And Tony turned it into what we know it today as the Indianapolis 500. So big year. Congratulations, Mr. Robson, on pulling off that victory. I know that car sits in the museum. If you haven't had a chance to get by there and see it, it's pretty cool. But 1946, big year in Indy 500 history.
Interesting stuff for sure, and stuff that I came upon at the museum, because not only do they have the vehicles down on the base floor, and they have the Penske area, and they got the interactive area. You go upstairs, some of the interactive flat panels they have there are pretty interesting. You can search drivers, you can search different events, all pretty well put together, and the interactive part of the museum now is pretty impressive.
Yeah, speaking of that, I want to get back out there because I didn't realize they were going to rotate some exhibits. And so I know that Kevin Lee mentioned that they took that 4-time winners exhibit out and now have entered one on broadcasters and announcers. So that'll be cool to kind of see the history of what the broadcasting of the 500 has been over the years.
I'm glad you mentioned like the weeds and things. That was pretty significant. Can you imagine doing a place like that to revamp it and to bring it back? They just did Chicagoland. Chicagoland was just vacant and just something very recent for, I don't know how many years, 5, 6, 7 years, and just literally sitting there. And now they're bringing it back with literally weeds coming up through the pavement. So pretty crazy. Chicagoland's no IMS, but man, that's still a chore to get it back to up and running. So, no, cool.
Absolutely.
Number 46.
Yeah. And speaking of cars on display, we still are anxiously awaiting some news on the new car. And I think we were starting to get some nuggets here and there. What do you guys think about the idea of this design of the new car?
Yeah. It's thank God for Marshall Pruitt, right? Like, Pruitt's got the connections. Marshall, like, you're the king, dude.
Right.
He's got a really cool series on racer.com. If you haven't had a chance to read, it gets a little bit in the weeds if you get into it. But a lot of work's being done. It's not coming until 28 officially, but
Yeah.
it looks like it's going to be. We're going to see renderings or maybe even it in kind of a model later this year, which is awesome. It's about time. It's been 14 years since we've had a new chassis, a real new car. I mean, they've done some things with aerodynamically and ground effects and things like that, but it's nice that we're going to have this new car. I'm a little concerned about the amount of spec pieces that they're talking about, and and the lack of customization.
Correct.
But overall, I feel like it's time, and I'm glad that IndyCar is moving in that direction.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, you got to keep up with the times of everybody else. I mean, NASCAR seems to switch every other year. But the specs is a little bit worrisome. You want to have a little bit of manipulation per teams to keep it a little bit more racy and not just this is what you're racing and may the best man. I think spec parts are good, but not too many. I think
it might devalue the engineer a little bit.
Correct.
Some of the things that they're able to do now. I do know one thing. Brian and I were talking about on our way to the football game. We were talking about the new car. I was thinking, you hear all of them talk about the weight of the hybrid and how the hybrid was designed to go in that car. In this case, they're probably going to be able to distribute that weight maybe a little better, being the fact that now they're going to build the car around the hybrid. And maybe some of those things that the drivers have said are a problem could be cleared up a little bit.
Yeah, I forgot you had said that, and that's a really good point. That they've added pieces to the car. Like this one is going to be designed with all of that in mind. So, it's a good starting point. One thing I had forgotten, and maybe I didn't even know this, the previous car was called the DW12, and did you realize that they had named it after Dan Weldon?
Right.
And I don't know that I ever knew that. I knew that it was a DW12. I didn't know why, and that's just kind of another cool piece of history and that makes sense because Dan died at the end of 2011. So, but they're going back to the name before that, which was the IR, the Indy Racing. So Indy Racing 2028 is what they're going to call this chassis. So
we'll see. I mean, hopefully, I think testing sort of begins early 26 is kind of what they're alluding to. It'd be cool to actually, see some real renderings of the actual real car soon, type of thing. So, it's good. I mean, it sucks. It's going to be in 2 more years, but I guess it takes time to build. I don't know.
Yeah, I think the big question is engine manufacturer, right? Like, who's going to be there?
That Honda
keep talking about Honda, but Chevy hasn't signed a contract yet either. So
right. Well, I mean, the Honda talks. If we're there for a while, it was Honda's out.
Yeah.
And to your point, Chevy hasn't said they're in. So that's a good point, man. Or does somebody else? Does Toyota come in? Does I don't think Ford will come back in. But to be determined for sure. It's a good.
Maybe they're waiting to see what this chassis looks like. How's it going to work with their engine? So.
It's a really good point. Yeah. No, you don't want one engine. You don't want a whole bunch of specs. It's not fun. That's for sure.
So in a slow news cycle for IndyCar, I guess this qualifies as big news, but the announcement of the independent officiating board and the announcement of who those individuals will be. A lot of times that might be a little blip on the radar, but for right now, that's something to dig into.
Well, I mean, that was my, disappointment several times this year was officiating in IndyCar, whether it was the Marcus Ericsson spin or a couple of the other calls that were made this year. So it's needed. They needed to distance Indy officiating away from Penske itself, and by the establishment of this board, I hope that that's what it is. It sounds like this board is gonna oversee things, and then you're probably gonna still have the same race officials. Ari Lyondike, Kyle Novak. That crew's still going to be the same, but there's going to be a board on above them that's kind of determining, hey, what are the regulations and what are we looking for? So it's interesting. The makeup of the board was we chatted about that. It's like there were some names thrown out there that got me. Pat, go ahead.
I mean, Ray Evernham, really notable dude, but has nothing related to IndyCar. A true NASCAR crew chief legend with Jeff's car back in the day, and has done a lot of broadcasting. So I don't mind it. It was a little bit weird. And then bringing somebody that has 50 years experience kind of threw me for a loop too. Like I get like guys has a lot of experience, but sometimes that's just not you want somebody maybe a little younger. That's a little bit more, I don't know. I don't want to say hip to the game, but just not on that wavelength anymore, or if that makes sense. It's old school versus new school, and I tend to try to lean towards new school movements. But we'll see. And then the Raj guy, don't know too much about him. Don't know if I should, but I don't. But he has experience for sure.
Yeah, I would say. Anytime you get anybody out of the FIA, right? Like, they know motorsports and they know those types of things. So I think you've got a diverse group of leaders.
I agree with that.
Guys that, don't have ties really to IndyCar.
Which I think is awesome.
That may help. Like they can distance themselves. And
that's out of all of it, that's what I like the best. They're just coming in to be officiates. They're Ari, I did it back in the day at St. Pete, and that's how it should. You know what I mean? Like, take the passion out of it a little bit more, and this is just how the rules are now.
Yeah. Ray Evernham was definitely a surprise.
Really. I got texted you. I was like, Ray, is that the Ray that we know of?
I didn't even know he was still involved in motorsports. Nope. I thought Ray had gone away with when Bill Elliott retired in the Dodge.
Literally, I'm reading longtime motorsports veteran who most notably served as crew chief for Jeff Gordon. Pioneered Dodge's return to NASCAR as an owner. And that's really about it as a TV analyst. So there you go.
Yeah, so I am not an ageist because I am getting up in age and I value experience, but I'm kind of tired of these 70-year-olds running everything around here. And I'm not talking just in motorsports. I'm talking about in every aspect of our lives. And I'm waiting for the person to step up and say, turn the page, right off into the sunset. Come to the event, take your little lap, shake some hands, do all that stuff. Let us celebrate you. But please, can you move on? Just be retired, enjoy your life, and let somebody else step up and take some charge of some positive change. How are you going to ever affect change with people that are saying, well, the good old days of this or the great times of that? And it's like, well, let's look to today and the future and quit looking backward. It would be
don't forget that
really nice.
When the owner of the series looks at these guys, he thinks of them as kids. All right.
Well, there you go. I guess that's it. I remember when you were in diapers.
It'll be interesting to see. But I think it is needed. And I do like the fact that none of them are tied to IndyCar for sure.
Yeah. If you've listened to any of our off-season podcasts, which I know some people are distancing themselves right now because it is the off-season, but if you've been with us, every episode, I think we've said something about Stingray and what's going to happen there. And it's like, is it a given that he's going to be back because he's not on the website? What's going on here? And then we finally got that news this week.
Yeah. I've been the one throwing out some conspiracy theories there, and Pat's every time been, no, Brian, like, Stingray's got the cash.
He does have the cash. That's what the reason
to you, Pat. You called it. I think the Juncos was looking for a way out, but ultimately it came down to, I think Stingray's going to have the money, and he was able to buy himself another ride for another year.
That's the reason he's in this game. That's the reason Devlin got in the game. That's the reason Kiffin is in the game. Kiffin, I think, is the better driver, obviously, but yeah, money talks, especially on a smaller team like that.
It's just disappointing, I mean, this is 4 years now, and like in the first 3, he hasn't finished in the top 20 in the standings. And if you're 3 years into this and you've got the talent that supposedly he has, you got to show it. I mean, we talk about that all the time, that they put up or shut up, and like, come on. I mean, money only gets you so far when you've got guys like Connor and you've got Linus Lundqvist and
that's what I was going Lundqvist.
And like these guys sitting over here waiting to get in cars, and they can't because some kid from Idaho has got some veterinary puppy palace paying his way.
Lundqvist is the biggest disappointment of probably, obviously not racing this season. It was proven in a short stint, but he just doesn't have a ride. Connor, I could argue, doesn't deserve a ride, but Lundqvist, it would be cool to see him in there in one of those spots, but who knows? I mean, but you're right. 4 years into the gig and nothing to show for it.
Yeah, and
it
Brian
reminds me of Dalton Kellett, Pat. You'll know that.
Yeah.
Remember that name.
Yeah.
So as Brian, you mentioned earlier, the guy, the king of IndyCar news and insider, Marshall Pruitt. We all listen, so I'm not stealing material, but we were talking pre-show about, someone writes in and says, well, what's the difference between him and some of these other guys that appear to kind of wrote the check? And I thought you had a pretty good opinion on that.
Well, it wasn't my opinion. I'll give credit to Marshall, but I know somebody wrote into the Racer mailbag, and I'll kind of give kudos to Marshall and his crew for that, and said, what's the difference between Stingray and a guy like Nolan Siegel or Louis Foster? And I thought Marshall had a really good response and said, Siegel, this is 1 year. If Siegel puts another year or two and he's outside the top 20 like he was this past year, like, okay, you can
on that team and that team, that's not good.
Right.
Yeah, and with the money that McLaren's got behind him. But Louis Foster, that guy's been proven. That guy won an NXT title. He sat on the pole this year. He had some really good qualifying runs in a struggling RL team. I mean, this year will tell for them because they've got this infusion of cash now. They've got Mick on the team. I would expect to see some improvement from Louis. So I don't think you can compare there. Stingray, I mean, in his defense, I guess I gotta say that he hasn't been on a really strong team yet. And he's so far he's been 3 teams in 3 years. He hasn't had that continuity, consistency with crew, with an engineer, with that type of thing. So maybe it is. Maybe he'll prove me wrong. I hope so. We need competition from top to bottom.
Right. I've said it. I haven't said it in a while, but we need somebody to replace these Will Power, Scott Dixons, these old dudes. The next guy up. Pato's been that guy, but who's behind Pato, knocking on the door of busting these older guys out? So.
Kind of on this topic as well, in today's Racer mailbag, Marshall made the comment that at some point, Mark Miles or somebody in IndyCar made the statement that their ultimate goal for the series is to get down to 22 entries from the current 27. I just want to, get your thoughts on that. Like, how do you feel? I mean, if they brought up that if Prima doesn't show up this year, we're looking at 25. What do you think about 22 versus 27 entries?
I mean, I don't like it. I want to see, some competition. I think if you take down to 22 from 27, there's 5 less guys, but there's 5 less guys to move up in those positions to see a Nolan Siegel. Like, Nolan Siegel doesn't have a chance then. And then you're throwing, I don't know. You're throwing Nolan Siegel into a big fire after Pato retires.
Yeah.
And then that competition sucks even worse, I think, if you have 5 new dudes because of just strict numbers.
And then do you start to lose some of those NXT guys that go through the lower ranks of F1 because they're like, there's a ceiling above me that I can't crash through?
That's a good point.
I'm going to go start driving somewhere else.
Yeah.
No, I agree with you. They talked about it being more competitive because the 22 that would be there would be stronger drivers. But I could say your back markers come into play
Yeah.
a lot, and I like, in the right situation. We've all been at Iowa and St. Louis where the lead
Sure.
car can't get around the back markers, but if the packages are right, I think those
Right. That's on the
tail end of the lead lap, they create some exciting racing.
Yeah, that's on IndyCar to fix that stuff. Yeah, no. I also, it was Doug Bowles. They were talking about the Dallas race and how they're trying to make these races more like events rather than races. I'm like, that kind of sucks. Like, I'm selfish. I'm going for the racing. Would I go to Dallas? Cool, yeah, but I'm going to Dallas for the racing. So it's kind of like they're just wanting to make big events and make the racing the secondary part of it in a weird way.
That's because you're an IndyCar purist.
So, I mean, I get it. They're trying to make money and attract more people, but I was like,
Yeah, maybe they think, I mean, that's kind of how all of us, some of us at different ages, got into the sport, though, is seeing the live event, and then maybe the racing speaks for itself. So maybe some people buy that ticket for the event atmosphere, and they go into that race. They see like something like we saw at Milwaukee, this packed stadium, everyone on their feet watching an unexpected out of nowhere pass.
right.
Against the guy who looks like he's invincible, and then all of a sudden you're bit by the bug, and you're going maybe to multiple events, not just the one that you have to drive an hour to.
Sure.
Good point.
Yeah, one thing.
If you don't have anything else, I got one more for us.
Okay, sure, let's hear it.
Yeah, I mean, you inspired me, Keith, with your Santa hat today. But what are we all asking Santa for when it comes to IndyCar for 26?
Oh, I like
what are you
this.
asking Santa for?
Oh, that's a really good question. I go straight to like a good 500. Last year's was not. I mean, the finish of it was not fun. The middle of it before Hunter Ray went out, that was pretty dicey, pretty interesting to see how the chips would fall. That would be my top. And then I remember all the slow cautions or no cautions at the beginning of the series. Not that I really want cautions, but the beginning, that St. Pete race was not fun. The beginning of the year. Yeah, those are two that kind of just pop off the top of my head.
Yeah. What you got, Keith?
I mean, I want to say the selfish one out loud just because it would probably make the year. But if Pato had an awesome finish and won the 500, kind of that redemption story of the loss of Newgarden would be pretty cool. And I think it would be good for the sport too. But really what I think I would like most is for that competition for winning the series would be neck to neck with like 3 or 4 guys, all 3/4 of the way through the season. That would make for some really entertaining races because you're always looking forward to that next race because what potentially could happen and how it would affect the standings.
I like it.
Great. Especially at the end of an oval, like, you know what I mean? Nashville's second to last race, right? Coming down to that sort of thing before would be cool. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. I would like to see some surprise winners this year. First time winners, guys coming from not the McLarens and the Ganassis and the Penske's, but I want to see Coyne in victory lane. I want to see Foyt in victory lane. I want to see Junco's, Carpenter. I want to see that. I know Carpenter got one last year, but I thought that was awesome to see a small team win, and I want to see more of those this year. More parity, I guess.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I mean, we saw it last year with the Ferrucci getting a third. More guys are climbing up the ladder to knock on the door. They're learning the car. They got to beat Alex, but each race and each practice, each test, these guys are all professionals, so they're still knocking on the door. But I think you're right. We'll see some for sure.
Yeah. All right. Well,
How about
sorry,
one
go
more? One more. How about the $8 million this NASCAR lawsuit drew out of that Fox is paying IndyCar? Like, that's shocking, right?
Yeah. I mean, that's
I would say
how bad
$80
a
million
shape was
is
yeah,
still
how
shocking.
bad a shape was the series in?
Right. $8 million. That's $80 million. I'd be like, oh, okay, I guess. But like eight, pretty crazy. Food for thought. Pretty nuts.
All right. Well, we want to wish you all a Merry Christmas. And
Merry Christmas.
we'll be coming to
Merry
you
Christmas,
in the
everybody.
2026 year next time, I'm sure of it. And hopefully, we'll really be starting the countdown to the start of the season as we turn the calendar.
We're inside 75 days.
Nice. That's not too bad.
Yeah, we can
Not
make
too
it.
bad.
We can make it.
Yeah.
All right. Catch you guys later.
See y'all.